It's silly with another Transgirl CNC where we talk about comics, cartoons, and other awesome nerd shit. Last week I forgot to mention what we were talking about this week, and so let me clear that up for you. We're going to be talking about some cool comics coming out in the month of December that I think you're going to really enjoy. It's our monthly previews episode, the episode where I take a look at the big book, tell you what's coming out that I'm excited about, in the hopes that you'll be excited about it too, and you'll want to pick it up. But before we get into that, we're going to take a look at the things you might have missed segment of our show, or this vlog, or whatever you want to call it. It's up to you. But things you might have missed is a segment where I take a look, or at least show you something that I think is super cool, that maybe you just didn't pick up. Either I didn't mention it for you to pick it up, not that you're listening to my suggestions on comics to get, but you get what I'm saying. It just flew under your radar. Or it might have flown under your radar, and you didn't get to check it out. And this week, I am suggesting to you The Shadow by Dynamite Studios. The Shadow was a comic book, a radio broadcast character, radio broadcast superhero in the 1930s who had, the coolest tagline, in my opinion, or the catchphrase, I should say, out of any superhero in existence. That includes current superheroes. I just really love it. It's what evils lurk in the hearts of man, only the shadow knows. And that's a super duper cheesy catchphrase, but I really like it. It's cheesy in all the right ways. The comic itself is great. It's one of three different Shadow titles. There's Batman and the Shadow and Batman. That's two separate titles entirely. And then the Shadow. I don't know why comics have decided to give him sort of a mini revival, but I certainly appreciate it. Now, the Shadow itself has 3 issues. You can check it out in your local comic store, see if they have issues 1, 2, and 3. Maybe thumb through them, see if it's your kind of thing. Pick it up, maybe subscribe to the Shadow, get it monthly. I don't know. Not up to me, up to you. But that's that. Let's move on to the meat of our video, the previews, things coming out in December that I think you're going to like. And we're going to start us off with our honorable mention. This is a comic that I'm getting, but I'm not super excited about, that I still think it will appeal to a lot of people, and that is Witchblade. I don't know which studio is doing it. It used to be, it's Image. Image and Top Cow. It's right there in the corner. That's a character from the 90s through the mid-2000s. I read some issues of Witchblade, and I kind of liked it. It just really didn't stick with me, but I am kind of interested to see what they'll do with this character, a new host for the Witchblade, and where that's going to go. So that's our honorable mention. Moving on to the bulk of our suggestions, things I'm actually super duper excited for. To start us off, we have Giants by Dark Horse from writer-artist team Carlos and Miguel Valderrama. I don't know if they're family or their names just last names happen to be the same. I imagine that they're family. But the story itself is about gigantic monsters that come up from the Earth's crust onto the surface and push humanity down underground to survive. Which gives me a little bit of a Gurren Lagann feel, to be honest, which I really enjoyed that anime. It's what piques my interest in the story, especially since the main characters will be 2 orphans who've decided that life isn't good enough for them or humanity or whatever. Anyway, they go to the surface to see what's there, if a kind of life can be made, and the tagline is that they'll discover that ambition may be the biggest monster of all. The monsters themselves look like Pacific Rim kaiju, and they're huge, and the panels that they show are these 2 kids running away, the orphans, and they're being chased by this mountain-sized monster. It's you can really feel the scope of its size, and that's another one of the reasons I'm checking it out. So that's Giants by Dark Horse. Give that a look. Moving right along, is a comic from IDW Studios, Transformers versus the Visionaries. And if I'm being honest, I'm not the biggest Transformers fan in the world. I've seen the awful movies. I watched a cartoon as a kid, and that's really all I've seen of Transformers. I've never read a Transformers comic in my life. The reason I'm picking this up is because my favorite comic book writer, Magdalene Visaggio, is writing it. I really love her. I love her work and the things she's done for Black Mass, for Marvel, for DC. And I'm super excited to see what she does with the Transformers. She's joined by artist Fico Osio, which I'm possibly totally mispronouncing that. The Transformers discover unwelcome guests at the center of Cybertron, refugees from another world called the Visionaries, with great magical powers who can either be amazing allies or terrible foes. There's no telling what, and that's what I want to see. With a name like Transformers versus the Visionaries, I imagine that they're going to be terrible foes for at least a little while. If not starting later, or if starting, then they'll be friends later, or maybe even not. The cover that they show is one of these Visionaries with like a giant halberd through a Transformer's head, and that in and of itself is kind of interesting. Because covers don't necessarily show you what's going to be in the book. Sometimes it's to make you think about something while offering you something else in center. Sort of like a jelly donut. You don't know what's really inside until you get to it. That's a weird analogy, but it's what I'm sticking with. Moving on is another comic from IDW Studios called Assassinistas. This one's kind of weird. I gotta admit that because it's weird is one of the reasons I'm checking it out. By writer Trini Howard and artist Gilbert Hernandez. The main character is Dominic Price. He's a college student, and all he wants to do is go to school, maintain his GPA, have fun, make out with his boyfriend. That's his plan. And that all kind of gets side-railed when is discovered that his tuition hasn't been paid because his mother spent it all on black market arms and armor for her job as a bounty hunter assassin. $40,000 worth of equipment, and he doesn't know what he's going to do. He's going to have to work at Starbucks, make lattes, and so she decides that she's going to take him along on all her missions. And so I'm super kind of excited about that. The comic itself is being explained as it's going to show you past events from her life, as well as current events from his life, and it's going to kind of mingle with panels that say then and now. And I'm kind of interested to see if that's how they're going to do the parallels. It's a little on the nose to do it that way, but the art itself and the story itself is interesting enough that I think it can work. So that's Assassinistas by IDW. Check it out. Now, our last comic that we're going to be talking about coming out in December is the one that I'm absolutely the most excited for. Even though one of these is being written by my most favorite comic book writer in the industry, this one is the one I'm really, really looking forward to. Even though I currently read one of their... This is from Aftershock Studios. The same studio that brought us Alters, and as we know, I'm not super happy with Alters at all. I'm reading it because I feel like I have to. But from the way this comic is described, I'm all in. Totally. Get me merchandise. It's called Backways by Aftershock. Writer Justin Johnson, artist Eleonora Carlini, and the story is about a magical world that's hidden from the eyes of society. And right away I know that you're saying, oh, that's what you're excited for? That seems like such a generic story. But the magical world itself is hidden in forgotten places, like everyday forgotten places. Like your attic, your basement, those shadows in the corner. Those could all be ways to the backways. And I think that in and of itself is not only kind of creepy that the shadows could be this other world, but that it's like a super interesting way to get to a magical world from our world. The main character, Anna Merrick, it said that she loses somebody in the backways, either somebody that she went along with, who was introducing her to this, or somebody she was introducing to this, or who knows how this happened. I don't know, because it's just a little excerpt, that's all I have to work off of. But she loses them in the backways, and it says that she will do whatever it takes to get them back, even if it means unleashing something terrible. I think this has really the great makings of a long-running comic book story, which I really enjoy those. And I can't wait to see the magic, how it works, how this magical world works, and all the different things that come along with that. So that's why it's my top pick for this month, Backways from IDW. I'm just super duper pumped about it. And that's it. That's all the previews that I have for you this month. And next month we'll talk about some more that are coming out in January. But next week we're going to be talking about My Hero Academia Season 2. It just wrapped up last week, and I'm like, so much stuff to process, especially when you think about where the third season's going, and I can't wait. I really can't. I really wish we had it. I really wish it was coming out next week. It's not. It'll probably be coming out either next year or the year after, hopefully next year in the spring. But we'll talk about that next week. Totally get into it. But I'm Fire Princess Lily. This has been Transgirl CNC, and until the next video, love comics, love cartoons, and we'll see you then. Bye.